Reporting for ChicagoFootball.com from Halas Hall, I'm Kevin Fishbain, joined by Arthur Arkush and Nate Atkins from the offseason training activities. And the big story for the Bears during OTAs is the player that isn't here. And it might not be the story John Fox wants to talk about or the players want to talk about, but we're all talking about it. It's tight end Martellus Bennett, who has not been at any of the spring practices. And Arthur, what, for Martellus Bennett's sake, what do you think are some of the reasons that he might be kind of, I don't know if it's an official holdout, but why he's not at these practices?
So I get to get inside Martellus Bennett's head. This should go really well. No, we haven't heard from Marty. I think the safe assumption is that he believes he's outplayed his contract. He has 2 years remaining on his deal. He was huge for the Bears last year, and he's getting paid, I believe, $5 and $6 million over the next 2 seasons. He's outplayed that in terms of what other tight ends are doing. And again, we haven't heard from Bennett, but I think it's safe to assume he's looking for a new deal. Obviously, that's what ESPN reported. He has 2 years on his deal. Not a lot of leverage there, but not a lot of established tight ends, pass-catching tight ends behind him, which is what makes this interesting.
Yeah, and you know, the thing also about Martellus Bennett, and we know Nate, he's very active on Twitter and Instagram. We know he's been working out. He's worked out at Brandon Marshall's facility, so it's not like he's not staying in shape. But the other thing the Bears have to worry about is they have all these practices. They have to run an offense, and they have 7 other tight ends on this roster, and it gives an opportunity for these guys to really show their stuff as they compete to be the number 2. And you got Dante Rosario, Zach Miller, Bear Pasco, and that becomes kind of the early glimpse of what competition we'll watch in Bourbonnais.
Yeah, it's a bit of a crowded backup room here for the Bears right now. None of them can do the things that Martellus Bennett can do, but I think they each offer a bit of a different skill set. I mean, you've got Zach Miller, who you can say is maybe a bit of a poor man's Martellus receiving type, not so much of a blocker. And then they brought in Bear Pasco from Atlanta this offseason. Him along with Dante Rosario, who's been here for a few years or more, that blocking type that maybe Adam Gase wants to use in the running game, or 2 tight end sets. A little bit of versatility, but I mean, obviously no Martellus here.
And the thing with Dante Rosario, not only has he been here for 2 seasons, he's worked with John Fox both in Denver and Carolina. And Arthur, the eyes are really going to be focused on the mandatory minicamp, which is coming up in a couple weeks. And if Martellus Bennett will be there, that's when you start to deal with a fine. Do you expect him to be here? John Fox all along has said this is voluntary. He's tried to kind of skirt the question, but that's the big one. And if he is here, what do you kind of expect long-term what this means for Martellus Bennett and the Chicago Bears?
Well, I think if he is here when they start getting fined, he's probably going to save some face. He's probably going to not worsen things any more than he already has. He has to get in eventually, to get in with a new coaching staff, to get on the right foot. And I think that, as I mentioned at the top, he doesn't have a ton of leverage. There's 2 years left on his deal. It'd be one thing if he's heading into a contract year. So I expect him to be here. Again, Martellus Bennett is unpredictable as any Bear on this roster, but I just have a feeling he's going to be here. He realizes he doesn't want to drag this on as he's trying to impress his new bosses.
If folks need to remember, yes, Kevin White added to the offense. Martellus Bennett really was the kind of receiving star for last year's team when a lot of defenses were bottling up Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. So we'll see if he's at the minicamp and how he reacts to everything as we head into Bourbonnais. That's it for us here at Halas Hall. For the best news and analysis of the Bears, stick right here at ChicagoFootball.com.